Hey, everybody. Today is May 17th, 2011, and you're listening to episode 156 of On Tap. I'm Dale Coulis, and joining me for the first time in, it's been like 2 years or so?
Yeah.
Is DJ Smalls, Steve Allerid.
Hello, how's it going?
That's right. Long-time listeners that may remember Steve from... you've been on a few episodes before, but it's been a while. You did the history of hockey games episode, and a few other random episodes too over the years. So it's great to have you back, man.
Oh, it's good to be back.
And today's episode is going to be all about, it's a redo episode. And you may remember how last year we redid our NES retrospective. Well, this episode we're redoing our basketball video game retrospective because when we originally did it back in, I want to say it was like 2007, I originally had two co-hosts, guest hosts, planned to come on who I knew were very knowledgeable in basketball games, but they had to both had to cancel last minute, and I found two other last minute replacements, but beyond NBA Jam, they didn't really know too much about basketball games. And so... and now it's 4 years later. So much has transpired already in that 4 years, and now I got Steve here, and who I consider very well versed in basketball games, right, Steve?
Oh yes, I love the basketball games.
And we even went to a basketball, one basketball. We attended a live basketball event together. So
I've been to an NBA game too.
No.
So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Timberwolves.
Yeah,
when they had Garnett.
Yeah.
when they could make playoffs.
And you went to the when they had exhibition games up here too. Like when the Bucks would always have an exhibition game up here, or a preseason game. That's right. They haven't done that in a couple years though. They did for 3 years straight. And
well, I don't think they could really bring any teams up because it'd be an embarrassing moment for the Timberwolves.
Well, I'm not in the loop. What are you talking about?
Basically, the only time they brought the Timberwolves up here was when they had Garnett, and now Garnett's with the Celtics winning championships, and Timberwolves ain't doing nothing. They're pretty bad.
Yep. Hey, but they got, what's his name, Kevin Love?
Yeah, he's actually pretty good. They just rebuilding that team slowly.
I think I was reading a Bill Simmons playoff preview, and he kind of ranked all the teams, and he gave Kevin Love best white basketball player of the year award. So they got that going for him. Let me rephrase that: best non-European white basketball player award, which are not many in the NBA, obviously.
Oh, he had a good season. He was doing a lot of double doubles.
Yeah. You ever read Bill Simmons at all?
I haven't read any.
He's really good ESPN columnist.
I've watched a lot of ESPN.
He doesn't do too much TV stuff. He does a lot of their online writing and a lot of local sports writing in the Boston area. I read his book, The Book of Basketball, last year. Awesome overview on the sport. He ranks the top 100 basketball players of all time and kind of gives a nice overview of the sport, and it's just a great book. But before we get too crazy into basketball, we gotta talk about what games we've been playing lately, as we always start off every show. What have you been playing, Steve?
Lately I've been playing, right now I'm playing Fear. Trying to get...
The original?
Yeah. That's on Xbox 360. I'm trying to keep up with all those, and then wait till the third one comes out. And then another one I've been playing is Fable 2. Kind of bringing back the old school stuff.
Oh, yeah. Fable 2, yeah. They can't go... That's a really good one. I only played a little bit of it. That's one I've been meaning to go back to. Anything else?
Let's see. What else have I been playing? Modern Warfare 2.
Oh.
Black Ops.
Online or single player?
I've been playing a lot of online.
Sweet. Yeah, Black Ops I've been playing online. If you ever see me online and you want to play, shoot me an invite there.
What have you been playing, Dale?
Gosh, dude, way too much stuff. I had a couple days, I just kind of came off a couple extra days off, and kind of just had a big game night. I was just played all kinds. I played a lot of the Gears of War 3 beta just wrapped up, or I think yesterday was its, or a couple days ago was its last day.
How was that?
It was pretty good. I just played enough matches to get they had a cool promotion going where if you played like X amount of matches, which I think equated out to about like 68, 70 matches or so for me, you unlock an exclusive outfit for Cole in the retail version of the game. I think I must have spent like a good 12, 13 hours playing the beta over the course of the last month to unlock a stupid outfit. But I just got it, so I have a little bragging rights to see, like, oh, see what I got. And then now I just saw the other day they announced the limited and epic editions of the game. It's coming out with some cool stuff and even more exclusive skins. So everyone's going to have bragging rights for whatever versions they get. But the multiplayer's good. I was a fan of the Gears of War 2 multiplayer.
I loved it.
I played it pretty regularly there for like over a year, and I'll still hop on every now and then whenever they do an XP event. I know they're doing like a 30 XP event the week of E3 because it got nominated for some award not too long ago. So they do all kinds of cool. I follow Cliff Blazinski and Rod Ferguson, the two main guys who work on the Gears games, on Twitter, and they're always announcing all kinds of cool online XP bonuses on their Twitter accounts. So I had a pretty good time with the Gears 3 beta, and I'm looking forward to the full game. Day one I wanted to get LA Noire today, but I was kind of
looking at that. Isn't that just for PS3 only?
No, it's on 360.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was looking at it, but I was like, I better wait and see the reviews, and then I should have just bought it because it's Rockstar. You know it's gonna be good. I read a couple reviews, and I'm just sold on the game already. It's like I should have bought it, but I got so much other stuff I want to play. I guess too. I come on a racing game binge too because was Fast 5. I saw that in theaters.
Haven't saw that movie yet.
And just like the previous Fast and Furious movie, I was like, all right, I got to play some racing games now. I'm psyched up about racing. So I rocked out a few racing games. Blur, got first time playing that in a while. Need for Speed Most Wanted. That game was actually pretty for a 360 launch game. I was surprised to see how fast or how much time I put into that game over the past couple weeks. I think I'm ranked 12 on the 15 most wanted list now, so putting a lot of time into that. MotorStorm, Pacific Rift, and Arctic Edge, playing a bit of those two. Didn't get Apocalypse yet. I may wait a little bit. Might wait for a sale on that one because I love the MotorStorm games, but I always hit a wall halfway through the career mode because they just amp up the difficulty and I always get stalled in progress halfway through the career mode. I just end up getting pissed off. So because of that, I'm waiting to get the game at a better price.
Bring back Burnout.
Yeah, I wanted to play some Burnout. I didn't get around to that. I played some Mod Nation Racers though on PS3. It's like their own custom kart racer game. Put a good chunk of time into that and had some fun with that. I like how they have a little story mode into the main. This I think is the first time I ever saw a kart racer with a story mode, to the best of my knowledge. See here, did the usual pinball fun. Oh, you'll like this, Steve. Oh, Penny Arcade Adventures, put another hour into that. I like playing that game in hour chunks. I'm still on episode 1. For episodic game, episode 1 is pretty lengthy. I must have put at least 6-7 hours into it so far, and it's still going. And finally, Steve, you'll like this. 2 wrestling games, WWE All-Stars.
I played the demo, and I don't know if I really want to buy it or not.
I'll put it this way. The game's a blast in multiplayer. Playing with friends is a blast. But if you're just going against a computer, it can be pretty frustrating. Because the computer, I'm kind of working at cracking away the single-player storylines and stuff like that. And single-player campaigns like that. And the computer is a bitch. Remember TNA Impact, how they reverse everything? Well, this is made by a lot of the same people who worked on that. And surprise, the computer reverses everything. Not everything, but at least half the moves you do. It's ridiculous.
When I was playing the demo, I was like, what's going on? But at least it gives you a challenge.
Yeah. But if you plan on doing a lot of multiplayer, the game's a blast in multiplayer. I was playing online against Matt, who's been on the show many times before. We're having a blast playing online, so... Oh, and I finally got around to trying out a Blockbuster Video. Was one of the two, not both. One of them's still open. But it's a big thing across the nation this past couple of years. Blockbusters are closing everywhere. One of ours closed. They kind of have a bad deal on. Did you happen to go there at all, Steve?
I have not been there.
Well, they actually just closed down like this last week. I was like, oh, they probably got a clearance sale going on. Like our Hollywood Video closed last year and got a couple. Actually, I like that video store, but they closed down and got a couple deals there. The deals here weren't anything to write home about. They were like pretty much, oh, games are all $60, games are all half off, so all the games are $30, which for used rented video games, I didn't want to pay any $30 for any used games. So I went there again, and they're 65% off, so it equaled out to around like $20, which for some newer games, that's actually a pretty decent price. And I picked up Lucha Libre for $20. That game was still going for like $30 new, so $20 didn't seem like a bad deal. And I don't even think anyone rented it because I looked at the disc, it looked like it hasn't even been played. So, surprise.
I was reading about it. I don't know how it was going to be.
The game's definitely a little rough around the edges. I played it for a couple hours. Not entirely sold on it. It's just pretty janky. I don't like using that word, but just some surprise with some buttons they used for doing certain actions in the game and doing certain moves. It doesn't feel right. But I do like the Mexican atmosphere in there. A lot of course, is Lucha Libre, so yeah, the announcer is probably like the worst announcer I heard in a wrestling game. Just he's just all over the place. None of his phrases roll together. Like it just sounds like it's just a mess. But
was the Nacho in the game?
The presentation's pretty good. Some cool entrances, and Conan is actually giving you tutorials, doing the tutorials for you. And there's some recognizable. If you remember your WCW luchadors from the '90s, you'll recognize a few faces like Psychosis with mask, La Parka, Silver King. There's a few other names too. I think I recognize like 6 or 7 guys. So there's some recognizable stars in there. So
Juventude, the Juice.
I don't know if Juventude's in there. I don't know, there was a couple of people I was surprised. I was like, oh crap, he's in there. All right, but I only recognized like there's one guy that's themed off Charlie Manson. But yeah, there's like some weird characters in there, but I'm like, there's actually some recognizable stars in there, so that's pretty cool. But enough about wrestling games. I'm sure you guys all want to hear about some hoops action here. So let's kick things off with the basketball video game retrospective. All right, Steve. Well, I guess just to kind of prelude into it, how long have you been a basketball fan? I mean, me and you are pretty much the same age here, so what's your earliest memories of getting into basketball and basketball video games?
Probably back in the NES days.
Yep. Same here, yep.
Haven't played really the Ataris. I know like Atari came out with a couple, but that's probably the longest is probably when I started playing with NES.
Yep, same here. I want to remember like early 90s in grade school. I used to be big into collecting sports cards. Collect all sports cards, and then all of a sudden, like the span of like a year or two, average price of a pack went up from like 50 cents to like $2-3, and as a kid, couldn't really get the parents to get me a pack of cards at the grocery store like I used to. So, and I remember everyone at grade school always like trading sports cards, and that's how I'd get familiar with all the basketball stars, and I'd read all the articles and like sports card price guides. And
I still have some cards.
Yeah, same here. I got like a Shaq card I remember, and
I got some Jordans.
Couple David Robinson cards. I may have one Jordan card.
I have a Kobe rookie. I got a lot of old stuff, new players.
But dude, early 90s was a great time to be a basketball fan. A lot of great stars still from like the 80s, having at least a few years left in them, and a lot of emerging stars. So it was just a great time to be a hoops fan. And I remember recess, everyone playing Barkley ball. and Lightning. Gosh, remember those? Holy
Force.
shit. Force, yeah.
21.
So, but yeah, as far as like, we're kind of going to cover the games here by era here, and I guess for like the Atari and television Coleco era, the only basketball game I ever played was it was later beyond the fact. My dad kind of got a bunch of Atari games way down the line after I was really getting into gaming on the NES. I kind of went from the NES to Atari. Imagine that. I only played the game just called Basketball.
Yep, I remember that.
And that game was just very, very primitive. Of course, it's Atari, so almost
Two
all
hoops and then a little stick figure.
Yeah.
Guy.
Oh, like the hoops were pretty much like two sticks.
Yeah.
And with like another little pixel indicating the basket, and yeah, stick figures. It was as primitive as it got. And if I remember right, I believe Atari released second line of sports games entitled Real Sports Football, Real Sports Baseball, and of course Real Sports Basketball. I remember playing that, and that was just marginally better. So
I didn't play that one. The one I played on Atari was Basketball.
I don't remember Basketball.
It was a little bit better.
I mean, it's Atari, so you're not going to have 5-on-5 and all, but it was pretty. I mean, these got the job done back in the early 80s, late 70s. All right, so let's jump into a era we're more familiar with. The Nintendo, and even to a lesser extent, the Master System. I never played any Master System games, so I can't really comment on the Master System.
Me either. But
the NES, ton of games, and I also got the arcade era for this time, too, because there was like one or two games in the arcade I played, too. I never played the NES version, but I did play the arcade version at this year's Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee just a couple months ago, Arch Rivals.
Oh, I love that game.
Arch Rivals, dude. I guess you could say it's a precursor to NBA Jam, right?
Yeah.
2-on-2 basketball. And, though it didn't have NBA stars, but it was all super cartoony looking, and you can actually punch players out, and it was just cool.
Trip over the ref.
Yep. Yeah, that game was, that game definitely, one of the first, like, straight up arcade style action basketball games.
I own it on NES, and I love it.
And if you don't have a NES, I think you can still find it on the, I think, one of the
Midway class. I think it's 3.
Midway Arcade. No, 3 was the racing games.
2.
Yeah, so either Midway Arcade Treasures 1 or 2. All right, Steve, we'll go back and forth. Why don't you name a game from this era?
For the NES, how about All Pro Basketball?
Oh, I don't remember that one. What was that one like?
It kind of reminded me, like, I think it was the same creators of Track and Field.
Yeah.
It was decent, but it wasn't the best. It was a lot of slow, but it was a decent game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't really have professional teams on there. You know, you could tell.
Yeah.
There was a guy with goggles. You could tell, like, that was the Lakers. That's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah. But it was a decent game.
Was it Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or James Worthy with his monster goggles?
I think it was
Jabbar. All right, how about this one? I think this was like one of the first big basketball games on the NES. Jordan versus Bird 1-on-1.
Oh yes.
Yep. I mean, it's only 1-on-1, but you had like two of the biggest names in basketball at the time, and you know, for 1-on-1 and on the NES, it got the job done, and it was fun as heck.
That was fun. You could either be Bird or Jordan.
Yep.
Another one I have is Bulls versus Blazers.
Oh, that was 16-bit.
That was a lot of different. I know it was for NES and.
Oh, did it come out for
SNES,
NES also?
yes.
Okay. I guess I wasn't familiar with the NES version.
That was one of my 5-on-5. I think that's kind of what was the first game that was like 5-on-5.
I think those were the first EA Sports basketball game, and
it was by Tecmo.
Or was it Tecmo?
Yeah.
Oh no, that. Okay, you got them mixed up because I got this game on my list too, and I played that one too. You're thinking of Tecmo NBA Basketball. because Tecmo, they just named their games Tecmo Hockey, Tecmo Baseball, Tecmo Bowl for football.
I have to double check at home, but
Because I got the Genesis version of it, but like I remember renting the NES version. It was just Tecmo NBA Basketball, 5-on-5. It's
that's right.
Like horizontal view of the play field, like all the Tecmo games, and it actually had the rosters, and whenever the ball changed hands, the name of the player who had the ball scrolled across the top, had that Tecmo vibe to it. It's interesting when you think about it. When it came to like third-party sports games on the NES era, and even a ways into the 16-bit era too, Tecmo was top dog. Yeah, that was a really good one. I remember having a lot of fun with that one. I even think it was like one of the first basketball games, if I remember right, to have a season mode. So, all right, here's another one I got: Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh yeah,
I remember renting that. And
I used to own that, and I lost it somewhere.
Oh no! I remember as a kid, just always get my mom to. She wouldn't buy us games. Instead, every weekend, she'd take us to the video store and we'd rent a game for the weekend. And I remember renting Harlem Globetrotters.
Rented on Friday again, returned on Monday.
Yep, old Movie Time Video, mom and pop rental stores that used to dominate the market. You only played as the Globetrotters, probably against the Generals, of course. And you got to do crazy Globetrotter moves, too. I remember they were hard to pull off. And
yes.
I remember doing free throws in there, too. And, it was still... It's been so long since I played it, my memories are a little fuzzy of it. I just remember being the Globetrotters and doing all kinds of crazy moves with it. But it was a good game, from what I remember.
And the one game I got is Hoops.
Oh, yep, I got that, too.
That was really fun. That was like a street ball game.
Yep. That was one-on-one also, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, yep. And, like, all the characters had all kinds of gimmick names, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't one of them, like, not Dr. J, but, I don't know, I was thinking Dr. Dunk or something like that. I can't remember.
It was just random, like, basketball names.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad game, I remember. I think that's all I got. You got any other NES era ones?
Double Dribble?
Oh, yeah. Shit, I was just going to say, Double Dribble.
Can't forget Double Dribble.
I think that was probably my favorite basketball game on the NES. I like Tecmo basketball a lot, but Double Dribble, I think, had that perfect blend of, I think all sports games on the NES had that arcade feel. That's the great thing about sports games. I want to say up through the NES era, maybe a little bit into the 16-bit era. All of them had, like, the arcade action feel. And but I think Double Dribble had still retained a lot of the arcade action game, but brought enough like simulation basketball characteristics to the game that it actually felt like real basketball while maintaining kind of like that, easy to pick up and play NES fun. And of course, I think Konami took a page out of Tecmo's book. They had, if you'd go for a dunk, remember they'd have the little mini cutscenes of the player going up for a dunk. And I remember you selected your team by shooting a basket. Oh, that was some good stuff.
That was a good generation right there in games for basketball.
You had a certain favorite out of that bunch?
Probably our Trials.
Yep. All right, we ready to get to the 16-bit wars?
Yes.
Got a bunch more to cover here, but why don't you start it off? Pick a 16-bit game. You want to continue with Bulls versus Blazers since you already got into that?
I'll mention that, Bulls versus Blazers.
I believe, like I said, the first EA Sports Hoops game, to the best of my knowledge.
I love that game.
I think they had a couple, like, playoff editions. It was like Bulls versus Blazers in the NBA playoffs, and I think they had one or two other ones, right? Like Lakers versus Celtics maybe in the NBA playoffs or something like that.
Something like that.
And it was weird because those games, you didn't have the whole NBA team roster. You only had like the teams that were in the teams that were in the playoffs that year, and I think you had the roster. You had like the starting rosters.
Yeah, and then they had like generic names.
Mm-hmm. So that was a unique approach coming for EA's first NBA games for sure. I don't say I just remember reading about it. I don't remember playing any of the versus NBA games from them. I guess since we're on EA basketball, I'll mention the NBA Live started this generation, and it was started.
I love the NBA Live. back in the day.
It started late in the 16-bit era too, because I guess before NBA Live, EA did NBA Showdown, which was, I think, NBA Showdown 94, and then they revamped it the next year with NBA Live 95 was the first edition, and it kept going all the way to NBA Live 2000, which we'll get to later. But on the 16-bit days, I played NBA Live 96 a lot.
Yeah, it was about that. Yeah,
and I think that was like, I think Double Dribble, I thought kind of got simulation kind of down while maintaining arcadey feel, but I think NBA Live was the first really good straight up basketball simulation. I'll still stand by that. It had an isometric, kind of like bird's eye, or AKA the Diablo view that may get people recognized. I remember being impressed at the time too, because I remember that's the first basketball game where I was actually able to make out the numbers on the jerseys. I was like, oh, you could actually see the numbers on the jerseys, and, it looked like crap, kind of, because it's from a distance, but get that kind of detail on there.
They have the Bulls on there, and Jordan was called Player.
Yep, I remember that, yeah. They couldn't get the license for Jordan, because Jordan was evil. He made it where, pretty much, there's only several games to use Michael Jordan over the years, and, yeah, NBA Live had it, I think, for 1 or 2 years, but that was, like, much later. All right, you got another one, Steve?
Let's see. One of my top favorite games I played over the SNES, NBA Give and Go.
Oh, okay.
That was arcade as well.
I vaguely remember that. Well, that was 2-on-2, right?
No, it was 5-on-5.
Okay, shit.
But basically, it was like horizontal.
Yeah.
Like, you would rotate it, and then you'll play it, and then it was a really fun game. It was like an arcade game.
Yeah.
5-on-5, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of my top favorite SNES games.
Nice. Yeah, okay, yeah, I don't remember that one. I know we mentioned Double Dribble last gen. For this 16-bit era, there was Super Double Dribble.
Oh. That's one I forgot to write down on my list.
I briefly played it. I just remember going, this ain't Double Dribble. It just didn't capture that same magic. I think Konami lost its way with that one. So, I don't have too much to talk about that one. I just thought I'd just mention it. Just remember it not being as good as the original. All right, what do you got, Steve?
I have another game, but I wasn't a big fan of Bill Lambier's
Combat Basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not too impressed about it.
Was that like... I remember reading about it.
Kind of reminded me of like Rollerball.
So was that one actually like hoops then? Or was it
kind of, but it was like a rollerball mixed with Death Row.
Oh, okay, yeah, I love Death Row, yeah. So, kind of like a futuristic, crazy sport game. Damn, crazy. And then to have Bill Lambier putting his name on it, too, that just sounds crazy. All right. I got one here for you. Now, I love this game. I think I played this one before I played NBA Live, but I remember this like being another one I really liked on Super Nintendo. Nintendo actually made it NCAA basketball, like the first licensed college basketball game.
I did not like that one.
For some reason, I dug it. I remember the copy I got. It works, but it's very half-assed. Games would freeze on it all the time. I remember liking it because it was like the first game to have a battery-back save where you can actually save your game halfway through. So I was like, oh, got called down to dinner. Save halfway, pick it up later. And I remember you could play a season in there. You can actually do the NCAA playoffs, March Madness. But even though it's called NCAA basketball, and the big the deal, and there was a tournament at the end, there's not a full 64 teams in the game. I mean, it had the most teams featured in any other NBA game before it, but I think it had something like 52 teams, if I remember right. Not a full 64 teams for the bracket.
I think so.
And I'd always be either Duke, or I'd be the Blue Devils, or the Providence Friars. Those were my two teams. I think I played through my season as the Providence Friars, and they had rosters, but they were all made-up names. And it was also, like I said, it was the first basketball game to be played on in a 3D plane. You know, the SNES, they had the Mode 7 effects, and the game of basketball would actually spin. It was played, almost all basketball games at that time had like the horizontal view or like a isometric view like NBA Live. I think NCAA basketball is like one of the first ones to do the straight up vertical, up and down vertical view, which 2K pretty much. Well, 2K kind of mixes it up a little bit, and the camera just always panned around to whoever when the ball changed possessions, and there were no fans. You'd hear the fans. It was just a blue background, like NHL Stanley Cup kind of. That was kind of different because the SNES can only handle so much. But I just remember being blown away by the graphics. I'm like, this is the future of basketball, and I just had a blast with that game. You didn't like it that much, though?
Not much, no.
It was just too different change in technology, maybe. Yeah. Well, I remember like when the FX chip was hitting the Super Nintendo, and they're like, "Oh, Star Fox and Stunt Race FX, polygons. These are the future of games." I remember seeing those games. I remember thinking those first very primitive polygons. I thought those were so ugly. I was like, I don't want this. I remember thinking that as a kid. All right, Steve, you got another one?
How about Jam It?
I don't remember Jam It.
I don't really remember. I played it a couple times. I think it was more like a street ball game, and it's gonna be. It was like the same play as like another game I'm gonna mention is Rap Jam.
Rap Jam, okay.
Yeah, Rap Jam was basically rappers like Flavor Flav, LL Cool J, the lead.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was just a lot of rappers in it, and it was like a 2-on-2. Kind of remind me of the graphics. Kind of remind me of Bird versus Jordan.
Okay.
But Jam It was kind of like that. It's just generic players playing 2-on-2. You have a choice of, a horse, 21, a regular game.
Sweet.
There's a couple I added.
Well, I think we'd be remiss if we, speaking of 2-on-2 basketball games with Jam in the title, I think people are going to kill us if we don't mention NBA Jam yet.
I was going to mention that. We're going to save the best for last.
I know, but since it's so topical right now, I may as well bring it up.
What can you really say about that?
I think along with Street Fighter, the first NBA Jam came out probably within a year of the first Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Those three games, saved arcades when arcades were just starting to die out, gave it a nice Band-Aid, and kind of saved the arcade era for another 10 years, at least throughout the 90s, I think. NBA Jam. Yeah, like I said, what can you say? I remember playing it in arcades at the old, or even when arcade games were so commonplace, you can find them at the local gas station. I remember playing it at the local gas station, just pumping quarters into it. Tim Kitzrow was a crazy announcer. Boom Shakalaka became common vernacular at the playground. And
Slummo Ding Dong.
Yes. I think I remember the first game had Shaq in the arcade game, but not in the console versions. I remember playing the crap out of the arcade game. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Everyone played NBA Jam. Even it's like that and Blitz, it seems, are one of the few, or the two sports games I can go to non-sports fans and they can say they at least played those two games. So and then, of course, I played the crap out of it on Super Nintendo and Genesis. Do you got an all-time favorite NBA Jam memory, Steve?
I don't know. There's so many. Probably when I first did, a full-court dunk.
Oh, crap.
When I did, when you're trying to figure out how to do, those, specials with the players, and you finally hear, boom, shakalaka.
Of course, yeah, the Jam games were always renowned for all their cheat codes, like Big Head Mode, of course, and all their hidden characters, especially NBA Jam Tournament Edition really ramped up the hidden characters. They had the Beastie Boys, Bill Clinton.
They had most of the mascots.
Yeah, mascots. Yeah, and just the developers were in there too. Just all kinds of crazy hidden characters, which was just really cool. I remember going to the arcade, seeing people use hidden characters. I'm like, oh, who did you type in to be so and so? And they're like, I'm not telling. Oh,
yeah.
And I think may as well mention the other NBA Jam games where we're on top of it. There was NBA Jam and the follow-up Tournament Edition, which was they just added the ability to substitute player at halftime. Players went from 2-man rosters to 3-man rosters. You can do a sub at halftime. That's its big addition. And then you had College Slam. Remember that one?
I kind of do remember that.
It's just jam with college teams.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think that was like the last. I think Midway lost the rights to the name NBA Jam. They made the first two, but Acclaim somehow managed to snap up the name rights to the game because they published the console versions of Jam and Jam Tournament Edition, and then they somehow managed, I think they managed just to kind of like underhandedly kind of sneak away the licensing rights for the game. And so now you had, so Midway released some other games. They still did 2-on-2s, so they did College Slam, and then they did NBA Hang Time, which I played a ton of.
That's what I was going to say, too, like NBA Hang Time. I love playing that.
I played that a lot on one of the last Super Nintendo games, too. They released it on the 64 also. I got it on 64, but I played a ton of it on the Super Nintendo. It was like the first one of those games where you could create your own player. I remember creating a player and just going to town on it. And just...
And you could build their tribute slowly every game you win.
Oh, yeah. It kept the stats. So yeah, upgrade your attributes.
I'd make my guy so tall and make him block.
Hidden courts. I remember rooftop court, jungle court. Good stuff.
There's a couple other games I found for the SNES 16-bit was Space Jam.
Oh, yeah, they did make one based off the movies, yeah.
That was alright.
I never played that one.
I hardly remember it. And another one is Tiny Toons Basketball.
Oh, yep. It was actually called Tiny Toons Acme All-Stars. I remember playing this off the Sega Channel. For those that remember the Sega Channel, you know, there you go. There's your true nerd cred right there. I ended up buying the game later on. It was a collection of sports, kind of like Mario Sports Mix on the Wii that just came out, but basketball was one of them, and it was like, I think it was like 3-on-3 if I remember right.
Yep.
You assembled a tune of Tiny Toons characters, and they all had these crazy power-ups. That was a blast.
That's all I could basically think of on the 16-bit.
All right, I got a couple others I'll name real quick. I guess another one along the lines of there's NCAA basketball on the SNES, and then there was another game on the Genesis, college basketball game with the same 3D plane dynamic. That was Dick Vitale's Awesome Baby College Hoops. I think that's what it was called.
Oh, we're talking about Genesis too?
Yeah, 16-bit era. Yeah.
Oh, well then I got a couple other ones.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is one of my favorite, Barkley Shut Up and Jam.
Yep. Oh, that came out on Super also. They had two of them.
Oh,
yep.
And I remember playing the Sega. Sega was a lot better.
Yeah, what did that stand out? I never played either of them, but did they do anything to stand out over?
Hardly remember, but I think the Sega version was a lot better with the game modes. I think it had a little bit more features than the SNES.
Yep. I got also another Genesis game, exclusive one on the Sega was NBA Action.
I don't remember that one.
Sega made a couple of those. I don't think they really took off though. I think one or two of them might came out on the Saturn. I don't really have any memories of playing them, but that's another one. Oh, and then, like I said also earlier, there was Tecmo Super NBA Basketball, which is just 16-bit enhanced graphics version of the NES game with updated rosters. You got another one?
David Robinson's Basketball.
I think that was NBA Action, actually.
Oh, really?
Because I remember David Robinson was a cover guy for those games, at least in the 16-bit game. I could be wrong, though. Any memories off that one at all?
It's been forever. It's been a while since I played these games.
Same here. Last one I got was one I was just showing Steve here before we started recording. At least I showed him the cover, the box to it. I wanted to play it before we recorded, but I just didn't get around to it. I picked up a Sega CD and a 32X last year, and I actually got, it was like one of 5 games that come out for the hybrid Sega CD 32X format. They got I think a separate Sega CD version too. And it's Slam City with Scottie Pippen. And that was a digital pictures game where it was just straight up all FMV motion video, and you played it like Dragon's Lair, and you just press the direction on the D-pad and move out of the way. Not actual basketball game at all. That game is something else. I won't say it's a good thing, I won't say it's a bad thing, but it's probably a bad thing, but it sure is something else. I think that wraps up the 16-bit era.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to jump to the N64, Saturn, PlayStation, and hell, I guess we could lump the Dreamcast in here too, since it was only around for a couple years and most of its games were PlayStation and N64 ports anyways. Even though I was kind of slighting the Dreamcast because it was capable of so much more, but let's get started with some of the earlier stuff. Steve, why don't you go ahead?
I'm going to go with the PlayStation. I haven't really played with 64 except Hang Time.
Yep, we've already covered that. It was pretty much the same game.
PlayStation, I like NBA in the Zone.
Oh, yep, the Konami games that were around for a while. I think those came out on the 64 also.
It kind of reminded me of Live, but it was,
It was polygonal too, right? Polygonal graphics, yeah. Gosh, yeah, I never played any of those. I remember briefly playing NBA Jam Extreme.
yes.
I remember being, I think, the first 3D NBA Jam. If I remember right, too, I want to say it was 3-on-3. One of the first ones I think Acclaim actually made all in-house. And I remember it being terrible. I don't remember it being that good, unfortunately. It's been a long time, though.
Another one I have is NBA on NBC Showtime.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of like an NBA Jam.
Yep, that was made by the Midway guys again, yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
They also did NBA Hoops, the same. I think Showtime was the sequel to NBA Hoops. Shaq was on the cover of both of them. Those came out on, I think, all three systems, too. Or at least, I want to say that all three of those came out on Dreamcast, 64, and PlayStation. And those were Midway's first polygonal arcade basketball games, and I think those were 3-on-3, right?
I think it was 2-on-2.
Oh, was it 2-on-2? Okay. I remember Showtime was cool because they really used that NBA on NBC subtitle to its full effect. That when I think basketball on TV, that NBA on NBC jingle.
Do. I don't know how it goes.
I got that crappy rap song of it. Remember, who made that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I can't think of it right now.
Maybe I'll throw that on at the end here, if I can find it. I think I got...
And then I remember the show, NBA Inside Stuff. Ahmad Rashad and...
Wasn't it a magazine?
It was.
Like a magazine for kids? I think I remember having a couple of those growing up. Yeah. NBA... Oh, man, so many memories. Alright. You got another one, Steve?
How about the beginning of NBA Live? Like, I know we mentioned that in the 16-bit, but they started coming out with PlayStation versions. Yep,
and 64 also, Saturn. Yeah, that's the one that really started coming into its own. The first one was NBA Live 95 on the Super Nintendo Genesis, but 96, the very next year, started out. It also came out on PlayStation. I didn't play any of them.
I played a few of them. I think 98 was my favorite.
I do remember, bizarrely, I remember researching when Jordan was in 2K11, which we'll get to later. I was looking up which games the few games Jordan appeared in over the years, and he actually appeared in NBA Live 2000. There was a special go one-on-one with Michael Jordan mode in there, I think, if I remember right, and I think he was actually in the game. So, NBA Live 2000 was one of the few games he was in. What made the NBA Live series stand out to you in this era? Anything in particular that you remember?
Not really. Like 98, and it was just a lot more faster and
just really started evolving.
Yeah.
Cool. One sec here. There we go. All right. I'm looking at my list here. Here's they did two of these Nintendo exclusives on the Nintendo published on the N64. I didn't play either of them, unfortunately, but I just thought I'd throw them out there for a mention. See if you might know them, Steve. NBA Courtside.
Sounds familiar. Is that with the Kobe?
Yep, featuring Kobe Bryant.
Yes, I did not like those.
I never played them. I remember Left Field developed them. And it was right when Kobe just started breaking out as a big breakout star because, I mean, come on, these games came out, I want to say, in like 99 and 2000. Here he is being featured in them, and he's still playing. All right, back to you.
I have no more for that genre.
I got a few to mention here, and then I'll close it off here. Just so I get some mentions in here. Acclaim did a couple more NBA Jam games. I ended up playing them on the 64 PlayStation. NBA Jam 99 and NBA Jam 2000. They actually tried making it a sim game at this point, and just from what I remember reading, they tried. They didn't even have like 2-on-2 Jam. They're like, oh, it's a sim game now, and of course all hardcore Jamaholics cried foul. Sony had their, remember 989 Sports used to be a big deal in the PS1 days. Their NBA game was NBA Shootout.
That's what I forgot. I remember playing that.
I didn't play any of those.
I played a couple of them. I wasn't a big fan of them.
And then they also had a college version, and EA also really started pumping out some more college games around this time. I guess you could say college basketball games started becoming more common in this generation with EA's NCAA March Madness and 989's NCAA Final Four games. I never played any of them, but just thought I'd throw them out there just for reference. Then I also have, I'm looking on here. All right, last game I'm going to mention here is this is Dreamcast, and kind of don't know which generation of classic, and it's kind of like right in between PS2, Xbox, and 64 and PlayStation. But the very first NBA 2K games on Dreamcast.
I remember playing those.
I don't know, maybe you guys may have heard of them. Still, pretty much the king of basketball games today. Got its starts as an exclusive Dreamcast game for its first two editions with NBA 2K and 2K1, and 2K2 was an exclusive on there for at least like 4 or 5 months. I mean, holy crap! I remember picking up the first NBA 2K because it came out a few months after NFL 2K, and I remember loving NFL 2K. They nailed the presentation, just unbelievable step up in graphics from the PS1 and N64. I mean, didn't have like those ugly polygons, and that were really starting to show their age on the PS1 and 64, and TV's quality presentation for the time, and I remember hearing it was going to being developed by the same NFL 2K guys at Visual Concepts. I'm like, all right, I got to get this, and I remember getting it for Christmas, and I absolutely loved it, and still my favorite basketball game series to this day. 2K1 really refined it too. Big step up. 2K kind of had a few felt like glitches, like maybe rushed to the market a little soon. But 2K1 really polished up all the loose ends from 2K, and I just remember playing the crap out of both of those games. So, did you play the Dreamcast ones at all, Steve?
I've played the Dreamcast. That's how I got introduced to 2K.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I thought 2K was a lot better than EA's.
I remember 2K1 also added a street mode, which was like, it will let you do I think anywhere from 2-on-2 to 5-on-5 games in actual renowned street courts across the nation. And I think, so that was kind of like a cool alternative, like kind of more pick-up and play style mode, and it also had online multiplayer, the first online multiplayer console game built right into the game without like some funky X-band modem add-on or anything like that. So, really cool stuff. Alright, well, let's jump to the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube era. Steve, why don't you start things off here? Which games stand out to you?
Let's see. I'm going to have to go with NBA Ballers.
Ballers. All right, why don't you tell people about Ballers that may not remember it?
Basically, Ballers was, you could either, you start out with a create a guy in your story mode, and you earn your way to You do all these little, I can't think of my top right now, but you do these little missions, I'll call it missions.
Objectives you had to complete there.
And just build your story mode and try to make it to the NBA. And I know they made like a few of them, like they made Home Court and...
I think Phenom and Chosen One were the names of their sequels. Yeah, and I'll just throw in there too, it was by Midway, and they kind of stopped doing their, after like NBA Showtime, NBA Hoops, they moved on from like 2-on-2 play or 2-on-2 arcade basketball to 1-on-1. They kind of went back to 1-on-1. And what this allowed too, with just 2 character models on the court, or I think there was like 1-on-1 also. There's like 3-player mode, but there's no 2-on-2 teams. And with this, it made it so like the players on the court look leagues better than what NBA what NBA Live and NBA 2K had to offer. And those games already look great as it was, but NBA Ballers pretty much really set it up to a new high bar, really made all the players look great. I think they only had like 40, 50 players in there or so, but like it was like all big names, and like they even had legends in there too, and just a phenomenally looking game. And I remember the 1-on-1 basketball, like they even had cool stuff you can do with involve the crowd, like you can like, if I remember right, get an assist from the crowd. You
can like open or have a pass, or
you could bounce the ball off your opponent's head and do a little, get a little assist as you go up for a dunk. All kinds of crazy moves. It was fun. I mean, a little limited because it was 1-on-1 half court, but I think the sequel there was one sequel on PS2 Xbox. I think that was Phenom.
I haven't played the Phenom.
I didn't play Phenom, but I remember putting a lot of time in the original. All right, you got another one, Steve?
What about like the PS2, like NBA The Show? Or
The Life.
The Life, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm comparing baseball and basketball team.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was 98. Yeah, Sony's basketball game, yeah.
They had a really good story mode.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed those.
Yeah, one of the first basketball games to... The Life, it was subtitled The Life because The Life was like a story-based basketball side story you could play, and started from the beginnings and work your way up to the NBA mode. It had complete objectives to make it into the NBA. It was pretty cool. I remember I got to play I played the first The Life on PS2, and I just a big step up because I think at that time they dropped the 989 Sports label, and it was just Sony, and I think it was the same studio, but at that time 989 games kind of were starting to lose their once high acclaim they had on the PS1 days, so it just became a Sony branded game, and they did do a couple NBA shootout games, but they weren't good, and so they rebranded it and completely revamped the game as just NBA The Life.
And I love the objectives on that game. Like, it was a lot of stuff to do just to earn to the next round.
Yeah, like it gave you goals to do, like get so many assists and field goal percentage, whatever, and help improved your player, and you got to see the story advance. All right, cool. You got another one?
Street Hoops.
Oh, Street Hoops. I played that one on the GameCube of all systems.
I played it on Xbox mostly. That was like, it kind of had some of the N1 players.
Yeah, like had a lot of like the street circuit players. Yeah,
and it was basically 2-on-2, 3-on-3. It was really nice. And since I already announced it, I have N1 as my next choice.
Yeah, I never played N1, but like I
said,
I
loved it.
I thought when me and you went to that N1 show in town, that was awesome. Now, did that act? Was it like how when we went to the show where they actually had their MC was on the court, kind of doing some trash talking?
No, he wasn't on the court. He was mainly like on the side with the crowd, and you could just hear him like "Big Baby," or like he'll call your name, or "Oh, that's gotta hurt." It was fun. Like, I just loved playing that game. I think I still have it.
Oh crap! Yeah. I remember when I was at E3 and they were showing that game off. They had like, it wasn't playable, but they had like footage of it going on a video screen. And then I felt bad because they had it blocked off, squared off in like this cage, and they had these two basketball players playing basketball one-on-one, like really aggressively. Like they weren't really going easy on each other, but they're playing in this cage. And I remember walking by it a couple times. I can't remember if they're the same guys, but I just remember thinking, like, man, if it's just those same two guys playing basketball in there for like 8 hours a day, that's gotta kill them. Yeah, also wanted to say, I remember Street Hoops, one cool thing they did in there is, like, they actually had rap music playing in the background the whole time. Remember DMX and a few other artists?
They had some good soundtrack, too.
Yeah. I guess one I'll throw out there was, they had one more NBA courtside game for GameCube. I actually played that one, 2002.
I remember they made it, but I didn't play it.
And I could see why they didn't make another one, because that game just, it wasn't there compared to what 2K was bringing to the table. And I guess I'll throw, since that was the exclusive Nintendo basketball game, I played the exclusive Microsoft one also, NBA Inside Drive, and that was around for a few years, I believe, from
I remember that.
2002 to 2004. I played Inside Drive 2004 a lot. First basketball game to have online leagues, and that was kind of a cool deal. I remember starting one with a few people, and we never got around to finishing it, but I remember like the actual gameplay was actually pretty solid, and presentation-wise, I remember just being impressed with the AI too at the time, and it was a pretty decent game. So yeah, definitely really dug NBA Inside Drive. Steve, back to you.
I have really nothing else in that genre.
Okay. Well, I'll mention a couple others here. From what else I have on here, looking at my list. Oh, I think you'll remember this one, Steve. Acclaim's last NBA Jam game on PS2 and Xbox.
Oh yes, I remember playing that with you.
We played that quite a bit, I remember. They actually brought it back to arcade basketball. I think this one was 3-on-3, if I remember right.
Yes.
I remember that one being cool because it kind of recaptured the Jam vibe of old. It wasn't all there, though, because Midway wasn't making it. It didn't feel the same exactly, but it was still pretty solid, as in, you could do, he's on fire and the crazy, outrageous dunks, and I remember having, the career mode was cool, because there's two career modes. They brought back Tim Kitzrow, a.k.a. the Boom Shakalaka announcer, and you got to do your standard, beat all the team's career mode, or you could do classic career mode, where you played in black and white, and you worked your way up through the eras. And,
I remember that, yeah.
And you had Bootsy Collins doing the play-by-play. It was crazy. So, yeah, that one was like Acclaim's last hurrah. And then we had the college games for that era. We had 989's last couple NCAA Final Four games. I remember actually having to review one of those for one of the sites I used to write for. And that game was terrible. Not a good rendition of college basketball. Never played any of EA's NCAA March Madness games. I actually never played any of the NBA Live games from this generation either. Did you at all?
The lives, I played a few of them, but I didn't really like it.
Like I said, I was more 2K basketball, and 2K3 and 2K5 I played a ton of.
I even have ESPN College NBA 2K, or not NBA, NCAA 2K5.
Yes, yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
College Hoops 2K4 was great. It was one of the few games where I actually whenever I play college sports games, I always see if there's a creative team editor, because I got to make our local college team, UND Fighting Sioux, and there was. So I created the UND Sioux, and I created every single player in the game for the roster. I just kind of went to town, just kind of making up my own players and making friends. I think you're on my team too, Steve.
Yeah.
And it was one of the few games where I actually played a full season, and I made it, and I won the Final Four. And it was really cool. Really good college presentation and atmosphere. It was awesome. And same 2K style basketball. Yeah, but I never played March Madness or Final Four from that generation. I know we mentioned NBA Ballers and Street Hoops, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention EA's first 3 NBA Street games. NBA Street games were pretty popular from this generation. They had NBA Street and then NBA Street Volume 2 and V3. Right. So those were I remember playing the first NBA Street and digging that.
Yeah.
It kind of really made combos.
That's when they had Jordan, when they actually used Michael Jordan's name.
I think he
was with the Wizards.
Yep, I think he was in NBA Street V2, if I remember right.
He was in the first two.
Or was he in the first one also? He was also in NBA 2K3, I remember. He was on the Wizards and he was in the Classics teams. I was like, holy crap, there's Jordan. NBA 2K5 was cool because that was one of the first 2K games, I think, to do the 24/7 mode. I played the crap out of 24/7 mode in 2K5. I remember getting pissed off because I hit a glitch when I won my 100th. I guess the game only had stat tracking up in the 2 digits, so when I won my 100th game in 24/7 mode, it wouldn't let me play it anymore, and I was pissed because the game had a thing where if you actually played on holidays, you won like exclusive items. Like you won a Santa hat because you played on Christmas. I was like, oh sweet, I got a Santa hat. Or you won a pumpkin themed basketball because you played on Halloween, and like the game used the Xbox's built-in calendar, so if you played every day, you kept stats, you kept on improving, but if you missed a day playing, you lost an attribute point. So it actually was pretty good at me playing pretty regularly for several months until I ran into that nasty glitch. And like I said too, the 2K, these 2K basketball games just kept getting better and better. They added the ESPN license for a few years, which, especially with 2K5, was the last one to use it. Really made great use of that license in the presentation. And then the NBA Live games got it, and I remember playing the demos for them every year. I never actually played the full games, but they never really nailed the ESPN license like the 2K games, in my opinion.
Yeah, they never impressed me. The live ones didn't impress me as much as 2K.
Cool. Alright, so let's shift gears to the modern era. PS3, 360, Wii. Bunch of basketball games. Where do you want to start things off on here, Steve-O?
I didn't play PS3 or Wii, but
got a bunch of 360 hands on here.
I have to say 2K.
Yeah, same here.
That's a lot better. 2K11's way better this year. Like, it improved a lot. I love the controls. Love the new features they added.
Like the Jordan challenge,
yeah,
fill people
Jordan,
in on
that was pretty hard. This time, where you create a player and you have to really work them as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the My Player mode.
Yes, that's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, the Jordan feature was cool because you had to relive 10 of Jordan's games, and they actually recaptured all the rosters from those eras.
Dennis Rodman, baby.
Yep. And they also had era-specific commentary too, which made it really cool. And
it brought back a lot of memories, like watching those playoff games.
Yep.
And they did bring back a few of those teams that the Bulls played, like the Sonics, which is now the Thunder,
Lakers with Magic Johnson,
Celtics, Trailblazers, Jazz.
Malone and Stockton Jazz.
I really loved this version of 2K. Like, they really did a lot better with this game.
Yeah, 2K10 and 2K11 were cool. I remember putting, at least in 2K10, I didn't get a chance to do too much of it in 2K11, My Player mode, which was, if you played Superstar mode and Madden or Road to the Show and MLB Baseball, that's their version where you just take one player and have him go through the NBA D-League and then work his way onto the pros. I like how they actually grade you in the game. Like, they actually grade you for how you're playing. Like, you're playing good, like, for actually staying on your guy, doing your one-on-one coverage, and or like giving an assist, not just grading you on scoring, but playing a good part in a play, boxing out properly. They'd grade you and help improve your player. It was really cool. And even in online, I remember getting graded online. me and you, Steve, we played online in 2K11.
Yeah.
And I remember, too, just playing where I actually did a game of 5-on-5 online. We found a game. I remember playing with a few people online where it was the 5 of us. And the game actually still had the grading system since we're playing 5-on-5. And
well, they have like the team chemistry.
Yeah, the team chemistry. And that thing was just it actually. I remember playing old basketball games when you'd have a few of us. I remember playing with old maybe Xbox era basketball games where it'd be 3 or 4 of us on the team, and it just turned into a big mess because everyone was always shooting. Everyone was always being a ball hog. No one would play team ball. But that team chemistry thing, by being graded by each and every play you did, it actually focused. At least for me, I don't know if you played too much with it. It actually encouraged me, and I actually felt good about passing the ball around and playing a role in a play, even if I wasn't making the shot.
Yeah, they even gave you points for passing, or if you had a good shot, or just. I was just really impressed with it.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was just awesome. And they kind of got rid of the NBA 24/7 mode this generation. It evolved in the NBA Blacktop mode. I don't know if you played that a lot, but this allowed you to do all kinds of variations of horse and 21.
Oh yeah.
But they just kind of renamed it, kind of revamped it a little bit. So yeah, the 2K basketball games just continue to impress, and wasted way too much time into them. Love them. Oh, and I got in front of me here, too, as we're talking about them. 2K10 had an awesome, since it was the 10th anniversary of NBA 2K, I actually got the collector's edition of which came with the 2K locker, which has, slots for, 20 games. I got all my 2K basketball games in there. I know, I'm a geek. Deal with it. So, I didn't pay the $100 that when it came out, though. I found it on clearance for $30, if that redeems myself at all. Alright, so we talk about 2K basketball a lot. Why don't we talk about NBA Live?
All I can say is not impressed.
Things took a turn for the worse for EA this generation for basketball games. That's definitely to be said. I mean, we had NBA Live 06 was a launch game on the 360. It seemed like a good foundation, but there's a lot of problems. I remember playing the demo, and you know how the SmackDown games, newest SmackDown games, instead of getting launched to the main menu, it just have you just kind of screwing around the ring.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with the first Live game. You're just shooting around, getting a feel for the controls. This game, this is a good foundation. Things can only get better, but they didn't. EA never got a feel for the gameplay. I always downloaded the demos. I never played the full games, but I always downloaded the demos they released just to see. And I always played the demo, and I always just remember going, no, it's just not here yet. It's just not here yet. It's just too fast break, and there's no actual team play, and it just didn't feel right. Is this sim? Is this arcade ball? What's the deal? And finally, it always got reviewed and scored as just the crappy basketball game every year. Things just weren't stepping up, and then EA finally said, "All right, we recognize what you're saying," and NBA Live 11 was actually going to be called NBA Elite 11. They said they got the director from the NHL games. I don't know, you play the EA NHL games. They're actually always renowned for some of the best hockey games on this generation.
Yeah, but I think 2K hockey was
Yeah?
a lot better for me. I love the
Okay.
controllers were a lot better than
EA hockey.
EA.
I know Scott was supposed to be here. He had to back out last minute. He loves the EA hockey games. I talked to other people at work who just love the EA hockey games. They swear by them. And I know they're always renowned for always being some the best scored hockey games too. And so the director was supposed to come on and revamp the NBA Live, and so it was going to be called NBA Elite 11, letting the world know, all right, EA has learned its lesson. NBA Elite's going to be like how we revamped the NHL hockey games. We got the same director. He's gonna this game's going to be the shit. So EA released a demo for NBA Elite 11 a week before the game was supposed to come out. And the demo is a glitchy mess. I don't know, did you get a chance to play the NBA Elite demo at all, Steve?
No.
The game is kind of infamous for a guy posting a YouTube clip, and he ran into this glitch where this guy kind of just stood kind of like that pose right there. I got this poster of a guy just there's a human anatomy poster where the guy's standing with his arms flat out, just kind of like he's levitating. He's just standing there in the middle of the court doing nothing, and he's like that for the entire demo. And just one of the many glitches at demos, and it was just an unstable mess. I'm surprised the demo came out that way. And EA got so much slack for it. The game was already shipped to retail stores. It was street dated that it was literally like 2 or 3 days before the game was supposed to be officially for sale that EA said, nope, we're not going to release this game to the public. This is not how we release games. This game's a mess. Well, first they announced they're delaying it into like spring mode, and then they just said, all right, you know what, we're just canceling it. And now they announced that EA Canada is not even working on the game anymore. They're starting from scratch again, and EA Tiburon, the Madden guys, they're going to be making the next NBA game, but they're not. They said it's not going to be coming out this year. It's going to be its first game will be out in 2012. So totally starting from scratch, and they can't call it NBA Elite now. Their original reimagining of NBA games because they already ruined the new NBA Elite name. So I don't know, Steve. What do you have to make for how things turn out for EA Sports there? I know I kind of went a little crazy there, but I think it was only appropriate people get the full story.
I don't know, EA, I mean, I give them props. I'm a big EA fan, but, like, I mostly play EA Madden, you know, and I used to love playing the NBA Live until 2K came out with it, and I just became more of a 2K fan than Live. And it's just, I don't know.
Same here, yeah.
It's just a lot more, it just seems like 2K is a lot more funner.
Yeah.
More fun to play than Live.
The only Live games I really liked were the 16-bit Super Nintendo games. And that was it. Never got into the PlayStation, or, like I said, I'd always try the demo and not be impressed. Yeah, so you think this is a good thing in the long run? Hopefully EA will get their act together.
Hopefully, you know, I'll give them another chance.
Same here. So yeah, that's NBA Live. I guess for the college basketball games,
I haven't played college.
I didn't play any, but there aren't even any more being made today, and this is more of the NCAA's fault of their high licensing fees. Pretty much, there was a 2K College Hoops for 2K6, 2K7, and 2K8, but then NCAA actually went to 2K and said, hey, you know, we recognize you're the better rated and better selling college basketball game every year. We want to give you guys the exclusive rights to basketball game to have our exclusive basketball game, and 2K was all right, cool. The NCAA, though, wanted too much money, reportedly, and so 2K had to back off. They're like, no, this is ridiculous for just college basketball rights. We can't afford this. Which I kind of found a little ludicrous because they had the exclusive MLB 2K rights. You know, how expensive could the NCAA 2K rights be? I don't know, maybe 2K was hurting for money at the time. So EA saw their March Madness line going, but once 2K college basketball went off the line, they kind of rebranded them. They kind of switched the name from NCAA March Madness to NCAA basketball for just a couple years. And then EA stopped making college basketball games too because NCAA was going to them now about increasing their licensing rates, and there was also lawsuits about college players suing because they aren't supposed to. They can't have their official names in the game, and they were suing EA because they'd have like their likeness in the game. They'd have the same height, same weight, maybe an inch or a couple pounds off from what they really are, but same stats. So, like, you know, say you had a big name center from Duke in real life. There was a big name, so there was like a really powerful center player for Duke in the game, just not the same name. So that kind of led to a bunch of hubbub, even though that suit recently got dropped. The judge dismissed the case, but So we haven't had a new college basketball game in a couple of years, and I don't know.
They need college hockey.
I kind of wanted to pick up College Hoops 2K8. I know for College Hoops 2K8, they actually make it so you can create rosters, and there's still a dedicated user base creating the most recent rosters every year, and you can still download the latest rosters. 2K couldn't make them, but you can create them and upload them online, and people painstakingly create them, so I think that's cool. I don't know. I haven't played a college basketball game this gen, though, so...
Me either.
College hockey game would be badass.
That would.
All right. You got any other games here, Steve, besides 2K basketball?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, we'll touch on some arcade basketball games here. There's only one NBA Street game and one NBA Ballers game this generation. There's Street Home Court and NBA Ballers Chosen One. I remember playing NBA Street Home Court once, and it was just like Street last gen, but with leaping graphics, looked pretty damn cool. But I guess I wasn't really a huge fan of the Street games at all. I never really got into them that much. So
I look like the Ballers.
I've been meaning to pick up Ballers like on the cheap. I'm pretty sure I can find it cheap now, but I always forget about it. Let's see here. Then there's a downloadable game. Tecmo actually made a new basketball game for the first time since the 16-bit days. They released NBA Unrivaled. And it was unrivaled with low review scores. I know, I'm sorry, that's horrible. But that game, it was arcade basketball, but it was not good.
That's on the marketplace.
Yep. Downloadable. You played it?
I played the demo.
What'd you think?
I didn't like it.
Yeah. I played the demo.
I don't wonder why I got a bad review.
I played the demo too, and I was like, yeah, no. Which sucks, because, hey, it's Tecmo. And they did that Tecmo football they did on Xbox Live Arcade, and that was kind of cool, but... Oh, well. And then we got one other arcade game. I just saw you eyeing at the box art here a little bit ago, Steve. NBA Jam, back, by EA Sports. EA got the rights from when Midway went bankrupt. They re-released NBA Jam last fall on the Wii, PS3, and 360. I don't know, did you get a chance to play it at all yet?
I played the demo of it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Kind of brought back some memories.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, a little bump up in graphics, not a whole lot, because it's actually a port of a Wii game. The game came out on the Wii first. It wasn't even announced on the 360 and the PS3 at all. Though everyone was like, come on, they got to release this. And it was actually supposed to be like an exclusive free game with the NBA Elite 11. But since that got canned, EA was like, all right, we'll release it on disc separately. Thank God. It's cool. They add a cool remix tour mode, which kind of adds bosses and other cool additions.
I didn't really get to play like the story mode and stuff on it, but when I played the demo, I really enjoyed it.
It recaptures that classic Jam feel the best since like the 16-bit days. It's 2D, hand-drawn art, no polygons or anything, but it doesn't really look fantastic, but it looks as good as it can get, I'd say, for this gen without going into the crazy polygon models or anything. And it's cool. It's really cool, and you can probably find it cheaper now. So it's one I'd recommend to play. It brings back the good old days, that's for sure. Oh, and Tim Kitzrow. It's always worth mentioning that Tim Kitzrow is back doing commentary with a ton more lines than he ever has had.
So boom shakalaka.
Yeah, he says boom shakalaka, but he says a ton of other stuff too. That guy's just crazy good. All right, I think I only got one or two other ones here. The Life or the game, the Sony basketball games on PS3. They're kind of, instead of being called NBA The Life, they've been called NBA The Inside. And they came out with, they haven't made one in a couple years. I got the last one, NBA 09. I played a couple games of it, and it's alright. I mean, I still like 2K basketball better, but it has pretty solid presentation, and it's a very polished product. It's just not as good as 2K basketball. And, they did do NBA 10, but for some reason it only came out on the PSP. Yeah, that does it for this generation. So, yeah, that's kind of like our quick history of basketball games. Not quick, but I guess kind of covering everything there in just about an hour there. That's pretty not bad. So I think we were thinking of closing this episode off talking about our top 5 basketball games of all time. And Steve, were you able to rank your top 5?
Yeah.
Okay, I know. I know you said you're still working on it right before we started here, but I got mine here. Yeah, let's go ahead and bounce back and forth. Go ahead.
I'm gonna first start with my 3 honorable mentions.
All right.
Well, first one's gonna be Double Dribble.
Yep.
Second one will be Tiny Toons Basketball.
Yep.
All-Stars, Acme All-Stars. And another one is NBA on NBC Showtime. That's my honorable mentions.
Cool.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I guess I'd say NCAA basketball on Super Nintendo. Had a lot of fun with that, and I guess I'd say the basketball from Tiny Toons Acme All Stars. There's some good memories there. I tried throwing it in like a couple years ago, and it doesn't hold up as well as I remembered. But back in the 16-bit days on the Sega Channel, that game was pretty fun. Double Dribble on the NES would probably be a pretty solid honorable mention. So, and NBA Live 96 because I played that one a lot back then. Had a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, there's some of my honorable mentions. All right, top 5, Steve. What's number 5?
I'm gonna go with number 5. Is gonna be in the SNES days. It's one of my favorite. It's gonna be NBA Give and Go.
Give and Go. There we go. Number 5 for me. Kind of cheated a little bit for certain basketball series that they instead of for ones they released multiple iterations of for a certain generation. I just counted the whole series for that generation instead of doing them individually, so I can kind of include more games, I guess. So, number 5, I'm saying this generation's versions of NBA 2K basketball. So, specifically NBA 2K10 and 2K11, because I also played a fair amount of 2K8, but 2K10 and 2K11 were the ones I played the most. Yeah, like I said, for all the great innovations for what they did, my player mode and evolving franchise mode and the association mode, which was pretty cool, and online play is just a blast. So that's my number 5, this era, or current gen versions of the 2K basketball. What's your number 4, Steve?
Number 4 is going to be Bulls versus Blazers.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I really enjoyed it a lot, and loved how all the NBA teams have their current rosters, and have the perfect scenarios and little cutscenes.
Cool. Number 4 for me was kind of like the 16-bit, all the 16-bit renditions of NBA Jam and NBA Hang Time. So I guess you could say Jam Tournament Edition, and NBA Hang Time. So just for being the arcade, I guess you could say the arcade, and then just playing them on the consoles nonstop. That was just fantastic. Tons of great memories. A blast with friends. Many, many hours wasted. And I don't regret a single one of them. What's your number 3, man?
NBA 2K11.
Oh, okay. Good deal. Number 3 for me, ESPN College Hoops 2K4. The only version I really played of college basketball, and I just, like I said, one of the few times I ever played a sports game and actually played each and every game of the season. Didn't simulate a single game, and I played each and every one. So, absolutely loved it. What's your number 2?
I wanted this to be my number 1, but it was a tie, so I flipped a coin. But my number 2 is Arch Rivals.
Oh.
It was just one of my favorite games I love playing.
Yep.
And I still play it.
And like we said, too, if you guys love NBA Jam, if you never heard of Arch Rivals, do what you can to check out this piece of classic, easily the precursor to NBA Jam.
Really slow layups.
Yep, I remember those.
But it was fun, and you could break the glass.
Yeah, I remember breaking the backboard. That was cool. Number 2 for me, Dreamcast era NBA 2K games. For, like I said, just totally really stepped up the game of basketball. Took it to a new level, made simulation basketball effectively, and just made it a blast to play, and just did so much for basketball games. Loved them to death. Steve, what's your number one?
Drum roll. It is NBA Jam on the SNES Sega Genesis.
Ooh.
I mean, that's even including Tournament Edition.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, that's my all-time favorite. I've loved playing it. I could spend massive hours on it.
Kaboom! Hell yeah, dude. Worthy pick. Number one for me, 2K basketball from the PS2 and Xbox era. I guess you could say right now the 360 versions easily outshine it, and if you're wondering, like, well, how come you didn't put 360 PS3 version as number 5 and not number 1? And that's because I've invested way more hours into the last PS2 Xbox era 2K basketball games in this gen. I only really played 2K10 and 2K11, and I only really played both the versions made for like 10 hours each so far, which is a pretty good amount, but I invested so many hours into NBA 2K3 and 2K5. I think you were over here, Steve. Do you remember when I had I think you were over. I had two TVs set up, and I had a Madden on one,
yes,
and I had 2K basketball on the other, and there was 4 of us here, and we're like, all right, Madden tournament on one TV, 2K basketball tournament on the other.
Yes.
And the way it worked out, by the way, who won and lost, it worked out perfectly to, no one was waiting, everyone was playing, and it was just a riot. It was awesome. So, good times. I mean, just played the crap out of it. So many rivalries with friends, just going back and forth. So, yeah, easily my favorite era of basketball games. So, yeah, that's our redo of the history of basketball video games. We hope you liked it. If you guys have any other basketball games or memories you'd like to, or your favorite basketball games you want to share with us, we'd love to hear them.
Even if we forgot some.
Yeah, even if we forgot some. I mean, it wasn't like how I did the RPG retrospective. I went to Wikipedia or GameFAQs and wrote down every single basketball game. We both wrote down the games we remember playing, and just some other ones I remember from being around at the time. So, yeah, just feel free to shoot us a line. Email address is mailbag@ontappodcast.com, or you can find the thread I made for this episode on our forums, which are part of the podcast network at Retroids. Just go to retroids.com, and you can find the podcast network there easily, and you can find a forum dedicated to OnTap Podcast, and we always have a new episode, a new thread for each episode we do. You can just always shoot us a line there, or you can find us on Twitter. I am twitter.com/Gruel, Gruel. So you can always find me hanging around there. So, Steve, thanks, man, for coming on, dude. This was
I appreciate it. It was fun.
Always fun reminiscing. I know we're talking. We may get around to redoing our history on football video games.
Yes.
I know that's another one I want to do. We didn't even do a special on football games before. I think I think when we did,
we just talked about it.
Just talked about, I think, like the latest Madden, I think it was. So, and I think we just briefly touched on some of our older favorites. But that's another one I want to redo. Be on the lookout for that one more down the line. But I just thought this one was more kind of topical, more timely, since the NBA playoffs are going on right now. So, who are you rooting to pull away for in the finals, Steve?
Grizzlies.
They're out.
Oh,
I think they're out.
I don't know. I'm going for whoever's...
Well, they did upset the Spurs in the first round there. That was crazy.
I don't know. I go for the underdogs. So teams that haven't,
8 seed beating the 1 seed? Yeah. You want the Heat, the dynasty, to win it there?
The Heat. No.
No.
I want the underdogs. I'm glad the Lakers are out, though.
But come on, Dr. Phil, dude, UND.
Yeah, but...
UND.
Kobe has enough. I hate Kobe.
The coach was a hometown coach. Okay. All right, well, we got to get out of here. Thanks again for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you all next time. Later.